Man, it's tough as you get older. You get what they call revisionist history, right? Where you start
Mm,
seeing it differently than what you experienced it, right? If you would
yep.
have talked to me back then, I would have told you, man, I grew up in 2 parent household, middle class family. Went to predominantly, what I mean, a well to do school. Athletes getting churned out of there. If you don't know where I went with DeSoto High School, DeSoto U, if you're in the Dallas area, but that I would have told you I had a normal childhood, right? Everything was smooth. Grew up in church. Had a relatively big community. Moments where you got your own development and adolescent like issues, but for the most part, I was good, man. But then as you get older, you start looking back, and once you have children, you start seeing some of the things that you like. Oh, maybe that wasn't as good as I thought, or maybe I want this to be a little different. And then now we got the big word trauma, right? Then you start looking at your
Mm,
traumas, like, man, that was traumatic. I didn't even realize that that's caused me to do this, and this caused me to do that.
yeah.
But ultimately, I would just say, man, I had a relatively good childhood, man. But I always, I would think about it. I was thinking about this earlier. If you were asking me that, I was thinking about like how would I describe my childhood, and it would say, man, I was always like a part of the crowd, but I was different at the same time. Like I could
Okay.
feel like I always kind of there was something that just never fit in one spot, if that makes sense, right? Like I was an athlete, but I wasn't always like the typical athlete because it didn't always just mesh with who I was as a person. And then
Hmm.
you go over to the let's say I was trying to hang with some band people. I love music, but I really didn't fit in there either. Like I felt like I was always just this person that was around a lot of people, but I was my own unique like entity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that kind of fed into a lot of my different like being an only child, then going into school and not always feeling like you fit in, but you're popular, but you're kind of like a loner. It's a weird kind of dynamic. But
Yeah.
to go back to ultimately saying it, man, my parents raised me up in church, 2 parent household, not always as loving as I probably thought it was back then. I see now what more love looks like, and
Hmm.
I've had to learn how to develop that, man. One of the things that was tough in my childhood was we didn't do a whole lot of communicating. I grew up with
Okay.
older parents, man. My parents now are in their late 60s. So they
Mm,
they grew up in that old school where you don't talk about it. Whatever's going on in my
yeah.
house, they stay here and we don't deal with it, right? So my communication was stunted, huge. It was just stunted, and I didn't know it until I was in environments where you had to communicate. And one of the things that I have developed over time is that I had to learn how to communicate. I had to learn how to express myself and be vulnerable and be okay with not knowing all the answers or being weak, right? I had to learn those things on the back end. But if you would have asked me when I was a child, I was macho, I was tough. I had all the
Mhm.
the makings of that. But that leads me into kind of where I've been in my life, man. I though being an only child and not necessarily fitting in, but always having to figure it out, man. What you do is you learn to observe. You become
Mhm.
extremely observant of, you know. I don't have older brothers and sisters kind of explain the world. My parents are older, so you kind of are in this space where you got to figure out all the dynamics of what's happening around you, man. I remember the first time I kind of got into it with somebody, it was around I told somebody a secret that I shouldn't have said, right? Like they
Mhm.
told me something and then I repeated it, right?
Right. Right.
I didn't know, nobody told me that you keep secrets or you don't say this, right? And I just, you wonder how many things that you had to learn on the fly that kind of was a part of your journey, right? And you had to
Yeah.
learn as an only child, you had to learn so many different things in real time, right? But that also helped me build an empathy for people in a way that it's hard for you to tell me something that's going to just blow me away and make me hate you or not like you, because I also understand, because of my journey, I also understand that people are flawed. People don't always understand people's intent are good and bad, whatever the case may be, but you have to be able to understand that everybody's journey is unique. And
Yeah.
I know I made that a long answer,